What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So over the last year or so, we've been watching as Sony has become more and more interested in the PC gaming space. Mostly, it's because they keep moving more and more PlayStation franchises to the platform, but yesterday they made a massive announcement that what's basically their biggest franchise, their most storied franchise, will be heading to PC. We're gonna go over that one here today. Also, we're gonna be talking about Nintendo Switch Online, specifically though, the Nintendo 64 controller and the Genesis controller, as scalpers are once again out of control. And we're also gonna talk about a big new sale that has gone live on PlayStation Network just in time for the end of the month. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're gonna start today with Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3. We have been expecting a next gen, or I guess we'll just start calling it a current gen patch for Cyberpunk 2077 by the end of this year. However, that does not appear to be happening any longer. We'll have to wait till next year to finally take advantage of the PS5 and the Series X with this game. We can see this quotation over on GotY. This is from CD Projekt Red, saying, based on recommendations supplied by persons supervising development, it has decided to allocate additional time to both projects. If only they had made that decision last December. Anyway, we do have Cyberpunk 2077, that being Q1 2022 when we can anticipate this patch to take advantage of the PS5 and the Series X. And then The Witcher 3 will follow up in Q2 of 2022. And this is not surprising because we've heard that their roadmap has had to be pushed back because they're still working to fix Cyberpunk 2077. That's how broken it was when it came out last December. We all kind of figured that because of everything that was popping up online, and many people have just run into issues with that game, whether it's a funny glitch or just something that has completely broken their path through the game and progression. Yeah, they've just had to release patch after patch after patch with pages of notes as to what they fixed. So it's not surprising that they had to push this into next year, but I mean, it's a shame they didn't have this mentality last year, like I said, to delay the game further. Instead, they're delaying a patch, you know, after they already sold 17 million copies or so of the game. Also, it looks like Rayne will be returning to consoles for the first time since, what, the PS2 and the Xbox and the GameCube. That'll be next month. It's weird because I didn't think I'd be talking much about Rayne here in 2021, but here we are. Let's head over here to Twitter. This from Ziggurat Interactive saying, Rayne returns to consoles on November 18th. Revamped editions of Rayne are coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch next month. Digital pre-orders start soon, and you can pre-order from limited run games starting Friday. Now, limited run tends to take a while to get their games out, so I would not order this anticipating it to show up for the holidays. Now, this is one that'll probably show up in your mailbox sometime next year. We had like a Rayne 2D game, from what I remember, that went to systems, but these would be the original Raynes from the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube days. Now, I recently did pick up Rayne on the GameCube in one of those GameCube pickup videos, and I tried it out, and the game hasn't aged that well, but if these are remasters or revamps like they're saying, and maybe they've worked on, the frame rate's probably better, resolution I'm sure is better, controls hopefully better. It might be one to look into for nostalgia's sake, specifically if you remember these games from back in the early 2000s. Just remember, yeah, they are games that are coming up on like 20 years old almost, so don't expect them to be very modern. Certainly one to look into though if you remember them very fondly. Oh, and occasionally we get some pretty good bundles from Humble Bundle. It looks like this time we have one for a bunch of fighting games. Take a look at this. This is Fighting Juggernauts Bundle. We have Soul Calibur 6, couple of coupons as well for like their season passes, but beyond that, Injustice 2 Legend Edition, Power Rangers Battle for Grid, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat XL, Slap City, and One Finger Death Punch 2. All of these games here bundled together for $12. And this is kind of, Humble Bundle does raising money for charities and all of this. So you can go through there, get a pretty good set of fighting games for cheap. And hey, if there's one thing we could all use, it's more games for the backlog on Steam. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and their massive announcement yesterday. So for a while, I've been talking about God of War going to PC, and I figured that would be the next one after Uncharted. Looks like this is showing up sooner than even I thought. We can head over here, this on PlayStation blog, where they say the Santa Monica Studio title launches on PC January 14th, 2022. Now, the reason I say that sooner than I was thinking, this is before Uncharted 4. Remember they announced that for next year? I mean, this game is going to show up on PC 2 weeks into 2022. It's very quick. They say, we're thrilled to announce that God of War will be coming to PC on January 14th, 2022. All of us at Santa Monica Studio have been humbled by the immense amount of support and passions fans of the God of War series have shown in the latest chapter of Kratos' story since its release. As of August 2021, 19.5 million copies for God of War on PlayStation 4 have been sold through, and we can't wait to share that experience with a whole new group of players on PC. So first of all, that's very impressive. 19.5 million copies for God of War selling through on the PlayStation 4, and I'm sure the PS5 as well through backwards compatibility. Although, if you have the PlayStation Plus collections, you can just download the game anyway. But still, 19.5 million copies. It makes sense why Sony would move this game over. I know people are looking at it and saying, that's Kratos. Kratos belongs just on PlayStation. But for Sony, Jim Ryan's numbers guy, I've said this many times now, and that's one of the reasons I figured God of War would eventually make the jump. They've sold 19.5 million copies just to PlayStation gamers. In their mind, they're like, wow, 19.5 million here. Could we get another couple million out of PC gamers at $50 a piece? Because that's what they're going to be selling this for. It's up for pre-order now on Steam, and it already jumped to like the top of the best sellers chart right away. In fact, they also have several enhancements for PC. We can see this over on the Steam page here. Now, we do have high fidelity graphics, which is expected, true 4K. They're also going to unlock the frame rate, and that goes right along with NVIDIA DLSS support. That surprised quite a few people that they will have that here, and I'm expecting this launch to be significantly better than Horizon Zero Dawn when that came out. That had some issues because Days Gone seemed fine when it released, and I expect God of War to get a pretty good porting treatment here to the PC. They also have controls that are customization, so you can play DualShock 4, DualSense wireless controllers, a wide range of other gamepads. You know what's interesting is I guess you'll be able to play through God of War with that Xbox controller, so that'll be interesting to see those button prompts pop up, and fully customizable key bindings for mouse and keyboard, so you can use the typical PC setup there as well. But the one that I saw that I was most excited for, ultra widescreen support, 21:9 support. This is going to create some very impressive looking visuals overall with some of the cinematic scenes and of course the overall landscapes that you see in God of War. It's going to look really impressive on an ultra wide monitor at like 4K and the resolutions you can get there, especially since it already looks super impressive on the PS5. And I do think for now, this is going to be Sony's strategy going forward. Sell as many copies as they can right away for the first couple years on their PlayStation platform and then look to move it to PC. I wouldn't be shocked if Ghost of Tsushima goes to PC next year. Maybe they make that announcement and then a couple months later, there it is on Steam for people to start playing because they've already sold enough copies on PC and they'll have that director's cut that they can move over. And that's kind of the way they're going to do this. It also works, I guess, as advertising. Let's say you buy God of War in January. You really like this game. It's incredible stuff. You want to find out what happens next, but maybe you don't want to wait potentially 3 or 4 years. Then you see, oh, God of War Ragnarok's coming out on PS5. Maybe I should buy that PS5 and see what happens to Kratos next. And I know I was one of the people that made the call for God of War being the next game after Uncharted, so I guess we'll make the next call here. You know what? I'm torn between Gran Turismo and Bloodborne. And the reason I'm torn is because I want Bloodborne badly on PC because it has some issues currently where it stands on PlayStation, and it seems like Sony refuses to release a patch, and I hope the reason they refuse to do that is because they are working on getting it ported over to PC where you can get, I assume, super high frame rates, 144 hertz support, 4K, ultra widescreen, all kinds of good stuff, and then they do release a patch on PlayStation. But for me, I guess the one that makes the most sense is indeed Gran Turismo. So we'll see what happens when God of War releases in January. I assume we'll follow up with Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. That's coming out as like a collection, probably midway through 2022. And then maybe Gran Turismo for the holidays, or who knows, maybe Sony finally answers the call and they do something with Bloodborne. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo Switch Online, specifically though, Nintendo 64 and Genesis controllers. These went up for sale on Nintendo's site. I think it was like limit 2 per account. You need to have a Nintendo Switch Online account. And they just sold out right away. They were just gone. It was like a couple minutes and it was just sold out or was pulled from your cart. And then of course, they start popping up on eBay and I was like, that's about right. I didn't know how many people would actually buy them at the pretty outlandish prices, north of $120, $130, even $150, but They're selling all right. We can see this over on eBay. These are all sold listings, completed listings, not ones that are just put up on eBay with kind of a hope and a prayer that someone will click the buy it now at $140. No, these are ones that are selling. They are pre-sale. So they don't actually have the controller in hand now. They have to get it shipped to them and then they'll ship it out. But you can see 140, 130. They even have some that are bundled together with the Genesis controller at $175. Some of these even shipping out of Japan. So everyone's participating here on eBay right now. But yeah, the going rate of this 64 controller currently is about triple the price from what I've seen, and they still make you pay for shipping at like $5 or $6. Now, the funny part is it does appear that people are trying to mark up the Genesis controller, but it is with very limited success. I mean, we are seeing a Genesis controller sell maybe one a day, and it's for like $85. So certainly a lot of people are excited for this service for Nintendo 64 games, if at all. Like, they're not going into this like, oh, finally, Genesis games are on the Switch. They've been there. Like, you could get that Genesis collection. If anyone's signing up for this, it's probably for the Nintendo 64 games that are appearing and that Nintendo 64 controller that they're willing to spend over $100 for. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Nintendo has restocked Nintendo and Super Nintendo controllers for their online service many times, even leading up to its release for those games, because they announced it ahead of time, like, we're gonna do these controllers. They sold out initially, and I believe they restocked 2 more times leading up to the release of those games on the service. So I'm thinking Nintendo's gonna have another batch of these go up for sale on their website, and I would follow Wario64 very closely as he will tweet out when they go live. It's just now we're seeing these go up more and more on eBay immediately after, which it just looks like scalpers now are taking advantage of everything. I mean, we see that the Xbox fridge, talked about this on the second channel, it somehow sells out completely and is showing up on eBay for triple the price at over $300. People have started review bombing the fridge on Target because they can't get it and they keep getting bought out by scalpers now. So anything that even looks like a next-gen platform is just being sold through. Sony might as well make that wireless PS5 looking router now, because like they could sell that for triple the price on eBay apparently. So my advice, hold out. Nintendo will be restocking these. Remember, you can play these 64 games with your Joy-Cons or with a Switch Pro controller. You don't need the 64 controller to play these games, and they will be in and out of stock pretty consistently, I would say, over the next several months leading into the holidays. So if you're trying to get it as like a Christmas present or something, I think there will still be plenty of opportunity to do so. So here's hoping Nintendo continues to flood the market with these and the scalpers can kind of move on to, I'm sure, the next big release that everyone wants. Next up, let's talk about some Game of the Year nominations. We had Golden Joystick Awards have theirs posted up. This was on Games Radar. And you know what? Let's get a picture of Sean next to these nominations, because there's one in there that we're all tracking, of course, for sales. And this game keeps popping up in these lists. He might actually have to play Balan Wonderworld. We can see this for Ultimate Game of the Year. We have Deathloop, Psychonauts 2, Resident Evil Village, Ratchet and Clank, is that Wildermyth, Hitman 3, The Forgotten City, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, and Mass Effect Legendary Edition. You know, I'm a little surprised Mass Effect Legendary Edition is in there because it's a collection of older Mass Effect games, but I mean, it was a game that was highly reviewed. People really enjoyed it. And I guess Ultimate Game of the Year is literally just Ultimate Game of the Year that you can buy. And they also have more nominations than what we'll see from the Game Awards. The Game Awards tends to have a lot of controversy. They have, what, 6? So they're going to leave games out that people say should be Game of the Year. Absolutely. It's happened every single year. Think of Fire Emblem, how that got left out, for example, despite being one of the highest rated games of the year at that time. But there's Metroid Dread. I think we're going to see Metroid Dread in just about every Game of the Year nomination list. All right, so get used to it now. And you know what? We're going to see it win some of these Game of the Year awards, and that's pretty cool to think about, isn't it? 2D Metroid showing up here, 2021, next to a bunch of big 3D looking games, and it very well could be taking home several of these awards. It's one of the highest rated games of the year, and for me, one of the best games of the year. So looking forward to how all this shakes out, and we'll keep an eye on the Game Awards. We should find out about those nominations here in a couple of weeks. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the big Halloween sale that went live on PlayStation Network. Obviously, we're heading into Halloween and got a couple of weeks to play some games to get us in the Halloween spirit, and PlayStation did post up a bunch of games on sale that we can see over on the PlayStation Network page, and some of these are a little strange. You'll have to let me know what you think about this. Some of these games, I think of Halloween, these games do not come up at all in my mind. Like Biomutant, that game's very bright and colorful, and it doesn't really scream like horror game to me. That's kind of more or less what I'm thinking of are like horror games or games that are a bit darker in nature. But like Resident Evil Village, that's obvious. Newest Resident Evil, yeah, sure, that makes sense. Doom Eternal Edition, though, also marked down. That's like the deluxe edition with everything attached to it. Friday the 13th at $3.74 is one of Sean's favorite games. That one makes sense there. I saw Scarlet Nexus, and that one, I did not get Halloween vibes from Scarlet Nexus myself, but then we move on to the obvious Resident Evil. In fact, you can get Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 bundled together at $32, and then you can tack on the Resident Evil triple pack. That's 4, 5, and 6 for just under $20. So you can just about play Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all together for less than $60. I do like Little Nightmares. That is a great one to pick up, get you in that kind of that Halloween spirit. Little Nightmares Complete Edition at $7.49. Little Nightmares 2, that's the deluxe edition, $26.79. Then we have Outlast at $4, Outlast 2 at $6. So you can technically pick up both of those for $10, and that's certainly one of the most Halloween games, we'll say, on this list here. Until Dawn is another good one to pick up there. The Medium certainly leans into the horror genre, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. However, it is $37.49. The Evil Within 1 and 2, some other good ones there. $10 the Evil Within 1, and then just under $20 for Evil Within 2. Also, I'll throw an honorable mention in. It's not on sale, but it's one that you can play around kids. It's not like a super violent game, anything like that, but it sets the mood certainly for Halloween. That's Costume Quest 2. It is the second one. You don't have to play the first one because, to my knowledge, it didn't go to the PS4. It's just like on the PS3. But this is like an RPG that you can play through, and it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And just in case you want to be terrified out of your mind, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. That's the who made this sale category? Seriously, some of these games just don't make a lot of sense to me. Either way, though, I would just go with Resident Evil or Outlast. I mean, seriously, the fact that you can play through basically all of Resident Evil for less than $60, and then I guess move up to Resident Evil Village for like the extra 40 or so is pretty cool to go through and play those classics. Certainly plenty of game to play there over the next couple of weeks heading into Halloween, but make sure you check out this sale. I'll leave a link down below in the sources, and of course, give some recommendations to people down in the comments. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll I posted up yesterday where I asked, will Bloodborne ever come to PC? 71% said yes, after God of War, anything is possible, and then 29% decided to crush dreams, saying no, Bloodborne will stay on the PlayStation 4 going forward. I really hope Sony at least has something in mind for Bloodborne. Maybe the rumors around a sequel or just something else in that universe, that Bloodborne line, is happening, and Sony's like, well, we got to do something with the original one, like a PS5 patch, a PC port, just anything at this point with this game, because it really is a shame that it's stuck on that PlayStation 4 system. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from David saying, small correction, Splinter Cell debuted on the original Xbox, to which it was exclusive for a while before making its way to PS2. That happened with all Splinter Cell games on that gen, if I'm not mistaken. You know what, David? You are absolutely correct. My first experience with Splinter Cell was back in the day. I was at a friend's house, and we were renting games over the weekend, of course, and we rented Splinter Cell. It was on the PS2, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I mean, visually, I know now you look at it and you're like, that doesn't look that great. Back then, it was incredible stuff, right? And that was on the PS2, not even like the original Xbox, which was a more capable system. But then we got the Pandora Tomorrow. I got that on my PC back then, by the way, yeah. I was an early a PC builder, I guess you'd say. Shout out to the NVIDIA FX 5200. Pulled through well enough for Pandora Tomorrow, but then Chaos Theory on the original Xbox was something else. Mostly the multiplayer. I know people like the campaign, single player, all that, but like the multiplayer. Spies versus Mercenaries, I believe it was in Pandora Tomorrow as well, but like Chaos Theory is where I played it the most. And if I'm not mistaken, if you were a spy and you grabbed a mercenary on Xbox Live, you could say something to them through voice chat with the headset. And think back to the early days of Xbox Live. It was some wild stuff back then, but man, what a great time. If we do get another Splinter Cell, I hope Ubisoft keeps the campaign that semi-linear style, and they just go all out with like Spies versus Mercenaries, all their service-based stuff there. That'd be really cool overall to get that multiplayer mode back. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. There's Sony bringing God of War to PC. Which game from their PlayStation lineup do you think is next to head to the platform? Also, what about Metroid Dread showing up in some Game of the Year nominations now? And which game is your Game of the Year currently for 2021? And are you someone trying to find a Nintendo 64 controller for the Nintendo Switch Online update happening next week? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.